Coming up here on Global Business, first half profits at large Chinese industrial enterprises rose 18.7% from a year earlier, driven largely by robust high-tech industry growth. Memory chip maker CXMT's shares skyrocket nearly 466% in its Shanghai IPO debut, making it the Chinese mainland's most valuable listed company. And China's Commerce Ministry urges the United States to stop smearing and threatening sanctions against Chinese AI firms. That's in response to a planned U.S. probe into the sector. And welcome to Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong here in Beijing. And we begin with China's industrial sector, where official data released Monday by the National Bureau of Statistics showed industrial profits surged some 18.7% year-on-year in the first half of the year, while the operating profit margin climbed to 5.7%. That would be the highest cumulative monthly reading since 2024. The application of AI across industries has driven a sharp rise when it comes to computing power demand, pushing profits of the electronics industry up nearly 97% on a yearly basis. The sector contributed an 8.5 percentage point lift to total profits of all industrial firms above designated size. Chip makers stood out, with profits skyrocketing nearly 2,580% in the first half compared to the same period last year. Experts say the robust industrial profit growth is due to sustained R&D investment and policy support for high-tech manufacturing.
These industries all feature long industrial chains. Their sound development has boosted profit recovery across upstream and downstream sectors, strongly supporting overall industrial profit growth. Enterprises will adopt new technologies to cut operating costs. Burden relief policies for the real economy will be fully enforced. Optimized business environments will further expand profit margins and facilitate steady industrial profit recovery.
And across China, traditional industries are going high-tech. Steel makers, for example, now deploy robots to handle hazardous jobs once done by humans. Our Chen Tong explains.
This is the latest robot developed for use in steel production. It was developed by Turing Robotics, a subsidiary of Baosite, the technology arm of China Baowu Steel Group.
This robot can be used in the scenario of a steel converter, which is vital for testing molten steel quality in steel production. Traditionally, workers carry steel sampling rods from the sampling pump manually. The workplace is extremely dusty and hot, with strong heat radiation from the nearby converter. We plan to adopt robots to take over this work and keep staff away from this high-temperature, hazardous area.
Baowu is one of the world's largest steel makers. Now the robots have already been used in Baowu's production line.
Manufacturing may seem to have nothing to do with AI, but this industry is in urgent need of AI and new technologies to turn high-risk jobs into fully unmanned operations.
In 2023, the steel giant achieved a lights-out factory, a fully automated production facility capable of operating around the clock with little to no on-site human intervention. This year, the company launched its AI 2.0 strategy, aiming to integrate artificial intelligence across its operations. From steel production and research to corporate governance and customer services, the initiative is designed to accelerate adoption of smart technologies throughout the business.
We've launched AI systems for converter furnace foremen and cold rolling operators. Trained on our years of production management know-how, they combine big data and large models to optimize scheduling, lift resource efficiency, boost safety, and ease labor burden, enabling a true lights-out factory.
Baowu is not the only manufacturer on show. 300 AI products are making their debut this year. The majority of them are techs utilized in auto and electronic production lines, helping to do repetitive, dirty, difficult, and dangerous jobs. Chen Tong, CGTN, Shanghai.
And China is home to more than 2 million industrial robots, more than the rest of the world combined. And now those robots are increasingly finding buyers overseas. In the first half of this year, China's industrial robot exports rose nearly 19% year-on-year to around $930 million. The Chinese-made industrial robots are now sold in 141 countries and regions. So why are more overseas customers choosing them? CGTN's Huang Fei explains.
Chinese-made industrial robots are becoming an increasingly common sight in factories around the world. Manufacturers are running around the clock to keep up with demand. From welding and sorting to heavy lifting, Chinese robots are taking on a growing range of industrial tasks. So what's driving their popularity? Price is one factor. By producing key components in-house, manufacturers say they're able to cut costs while maintaining performance and reliability.
Since all core components, including motors and drives, are developed in-house, our collaborative robots are 30 to 40% cheaper. Demand is rising across Europe, North America, and Southeast Asia.
But price alone doesn't explain the boom. Chinese companies are exporting complete automation solutions, from hardware and software to system integration. Years of experience in applying robotics across 70-plus industries have become an export of their own. And the service doesn't stop after delivery.
Since January, our export orders have increased by more than 30%. With our after-sales team based in Southeast Asia, we can respond quickly to our customers' needs.
And demand could be set to grow even faster. For the first time, bionic robots and cleaning robots have been given their own customs codes, a sign that these rapidly expanding categories are entering the global mainstream. At the same time, manufacturers worldwide are shifting towards smaller production runs, greater product variety, and smarter manufacturing. That's driving the demand for intelligent and adaptable robots, and many see humanoids as the next step. It may look like robot fight night, but think of it as a job interview. These robots can keep their balance, recover from falls, and keep operating even after taking a huge hit, like losing a head. Those are exactly the kinds of capabilities manufacturers are looking for, and many are already being tested in Chinese factories.
AI and embodied intelligence will allow robots to be deployed in many more real-world scenarios.
There are still challenges ahead, from advanced chips and high-end sensors to building stronger global service networks. The race is far from over, but China has already built a strong head start. Huang Fei, CGTN, Guangzhou.
Meanwhile, the 9th China International Import Expo, or the CIIE, is 100 days away. According to a press conference held on Monday, 53 countries and 3 international organizations have confirmed a national pavilion at the event. Romania, Moldova, and the United Nations Development Program will be participating for the very first time. Canada will be the guest country of honor for the second time. More than 1,200 organizations from 99 countries and regions have also confirmed company pavilions, and 265 of them are Fortune 500 companies. According to the size of the exhibition area, the United States is now top among all foreign nations. The CIIE will upgrade its special section for African countries that have diplomatic relations with China, encouraging the Global South to actively use the CIIE platform.
The UK views CIIE as a key platform for UK companies coming to China. We first participated in the first ever CIIE, which was in 2018, as a country of honour. So we see this as a key platform. We particularly find the opportunity for small and medium-sized enterprises to be very, very useful to understand the Chinese market and to engage with Chinese consumers.
Last year we had 180 companies and we expect to do significantly better this year. We're just finalising our negotiation on the space, and I know we'll have quite a bit more space than last year, so it looks very exciting.
Czech companies have been attending CIIE since the beginning of the initiative, so this year we will have a stable number, around 10 companies, mostly in the food and beverage sector, but we are trying to promote the event as much as possible, and I hope next year we can bring also the other companies from the different industries as well.
And up next here on Global Business. Memory chip maker CXMT's shares skyrocket nearly 466% in its Shanghai IPO debut, making it the Chinese mainland's most valuable listed company.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business. Only on CGTN.
Memory chip maker Changxin Memory Technologies, or CXMT, delivered a blockbuster trading debut on Shanghai's Star Market on Monday, with its shares surging nearly 466% from its IPO price. The stock closed at 49 yuan, giving it a market capitalization of more than 3.2 trillion yuan and making it the most valuable listed company here on the Chinese mainland market. Its full-day turnover surpassed 141 billion yuan, setting a new record for single-day trading volume of an individual stock on the Chinese mainland's A-share market. The IPO, which raised nearly 58 billion yuan, stands as the largest ever on the Sci-Tech Innovation Board since its inception. Tim Pope has more on CXMT's IPO and its impact on the wider market.
CXMT dominated the headlines today, and its debut gave a considerable lift to sentiment, improving risk appetite after a couple of lackluster weeks. The Shanghai Composite Index was up 1.2%, the Shenzhen Component gained 2.7%, and the China Export climbed by 3.2%. The gains were also extremely broad-based. More than 5,000 mainland-listed stocks advanced on Monday, while we saw only a few hundred declining. Building materials, batteries, pharmaceuticals, consumer-related stocks, all of those are among the stronger performers. Now, part of that may be because CXMT had created a significant liquidity overhang ahead of its listing, investors raising cash or holding back from buying other shares as they prepared for this debut. But once the market successfully absorbed that enormous new listing, some of that sideline money appears to have returned to other stocks. But the CXMT debut itself was astonishing. We use words like surge all the time, and on days like this, I regret that because it leaves me sort of without a significantly dramatic word to describe a company gaining almost 500% and becoming the Chinese mainland's most valuable listed company on its first day of trade. CXMT closed 465.8% higher, giving it a market valuation of around 3.3 trillion yuan. Now, that does come with an important caveat, however. Only 6.73% of the company's shares were freely tradable today. And with different groups of shares locked up for periods ranging from 6 months to 3 years, it's going to be some time before the market faces a sort of meaningful test of that enormous new valuation.
And as for today's listing of CXMT, let's hear what the experts have to say.
Thanks to its strong profitability and clear growth prospects, Changxin serves as a key heavyweight stock and a vital stabilizer for the Star Market Index. This, in turn, is expected to help drive a broader shift toward value investing across the hard tech sector as a whole.
Changxin Memory's IPO marks the arrival of a major industry anchor, one that is expected to exert considerable ripple effects along the value chain. This will in turn raise the bar for domestic equipment, materials, and supply chain integration, ultimately fostering further growth and refinement.
So CXMT was founded back in 2016, and in a span of just 10 years, the company is now China's largest and most technologically advanced company, focused on the research, development, design, and manufacturing of DRAM, the memory chips essential for a wide range of electronic devices. The sector has long been dominated by Samsung Electronics, SK Hynix, and Micron. In the fourth quarter of 2025, CXMT accounted for more than 7% of the global DRAM market, ranking fourth worldwide. Now, according to its prospectus, CXMT reported first quarter revenue of nearly 51 billion yuan, jumping more than 700% year over year. This rapid expansion is attributed to a global memory chip upcycle that began in the previous year, driven in large part by robust demand associated with AI. Well, driven by a global shortage of memory chips, prices for consumer electronics from gaming consoles to laptops are on the rise. The CXMT, of course, has emerged as a potential new alternative. But with prices expected to remain high for years to come, will that really make a difference? Our reporter Mark New has more.
Consumer electronics prices are on the rise.
Sony had to raise the PS5 by $100, which is huge. Even the Switch 2, Nintendo had to raise it by $50, which is, unheard of. GoPro said they might have to file bankruptcy, partly because of memory costs. Apple, of all folks, which does probably the best job of anybody managing supply chain, they had to start raising prices. The MacBook Neo, the cheapest one, was lauded for being $599. Now it's $699. If Apple can't hold the line, nobody can hold the line.
For the international market, there are three main corporations fabricating consumer product random access memory chips. Two in South Korea, Samsung and SK Hynix, and one in the U.S., Micron Technology. But due to the demand from AI data centers, the three production giants are now devoting a greater portion of their limited resources to produce high bandwidth memory chips instead.
So there's 80% margins on these AI chips versus the 10 to 20% margins on consumer-facing chips. A lot of data centers are repurposing their data centers to be AI-focused. I don't see much relief because the increase in usage just continues to grow.
And so now data centers are soaking up something like 70% of the world's memory. And everyone else is fighting over whatever's left for use in the consumer devices, right? The phones and the laptops that we rely on.
On July 6th, SK Hynix, which has more than 60% of the high bandwidth memory market, launched a U.S. share sale to raise $28 billion. But for standard consumer RAM chips, Chinese company CXMT has emerged as another option. So much so that Apple is now testing them in its devices sold in China.
Right now, everyone's starting to kind of look to China. A company called CXMT has gone from almost nothing to the world's fourth largest DRAM maker in about 2 years. Apple, they're arguably the most powerful buyer in consumer electronics, and they're essentially asking Washington for permission to buy memory from CXMT, a Chinese company. What they're wanting is a guarantee that the U.S. government won't tighten the rules and effectively strand them mid-contract.
Without more chip options, analysts see little hope of prices falling anytime soon. In fact, Micron CEO even admitted that chip supplies will be constrained beyond 2027 due to the fact that it takes years to build fabrication plants.
Everybody talks about food inflation at restaurants, at the grocery stores and whatnot, but boom, when you're hit with this, even buying a new Apple laptop or just a memory card or a flash drive, it affects a whole new broad segment.
Fung says a big test will be the year-end holiday shopping season, when retailers and tech companies will need to get extra creative with pricing strategies to satisfy consumers while making ends meet. Mark New, CGTN, San Francisco.
And still to come here on Global Business. China's Commerce Ministry urges the United States to stop smearing and threatening sanctions against Chinese AI firms. That's in response to a planned U.S. probe into the sector.
A vast land of 1.4 billion people. The world's second largest economy. Home to stories of the unexpected, the unimaginable, the breathtaking. Stories that touch the soul. Feel the speed, the passion. Enjoy spectacular natural and cultural landscapes. Feel the thrill of cutting-edge innovations. Discovering China. Global Biz. China Travel. We present to China never seen before. 24/7 at your fingertips.
All right, in other headlines we are tracking at this hour, China's Commerce Ministry has dismissed planned U.S. probes into Chinese firms over so-called distillation claims as groundless. It said the time gap of model launches between the two countries was negligible, and certain Chinese models had demonstrated their leading positions in the industry. The ministry added that innovation requires openness and does not belong to any one country. Singapore's monetary authority says it will increase the rate band of the Singapore dollar, allowing the currency to appreciate slightly faster. The move came as Singapore's core inflation picked up in June. And German business confidence grew more than expected in July. The IFO Business Climate Index climbed to 86.6 from a revised 85.7 in June. IFO President Clemens Voigt is saying that despite uncertainty in the Persian Gulf, the German economy is showing less pessimism. Well, Volkswagen has long been one of the symbols of German industrial success. But as the car maker cuts costs, reduces production, and restructures its business, one city that has built cars for more than a century is now facing an uncertain future.
Storm clouds are brewing over one of Germany's biggest manufacturing success stories. As cost pressures bite, Volkswagen is also battling fierce competition and weaker than expected demand for electric vehicles. Few places illustrate that story more clearly than Zwickau. The history of German car making is deeply rooted here. For more than a century, Zwickau had built some of the country's best-known vehicles. Volkswagen turned it into the centrepiece of its electric future, investing nearly $1.5 billion to convert the factory to electric vehicle production. Today, the potential closure of that same factory sits at the heart of the company's restructuring plans. For decades, businesses here in Zwickau have depended on those Volkswagen workers who go through the factory gates every day. If one of Germany's biggest manufacturers is set for a drastic change of tack, the effects would be felt right across this city and region. Gabi runs Dolce Freddo, a cafe in town. Like many businesses here, much of her trade comes from factory workers, suppliers and the wider automotive industry.
Volkswagen isn't just important because of Volkswagen. It's also all the supplier companies. They play a very, very important role.
Business remains steady for now, she says, but uncertainty about Volkswagen's future is already changing the mood across the city.
People are worried. Some have already accepted redundancy packages. Others simply don't know what the future holds.
Car manufacturing has a long history in Zwickau. In 1904, automotive engineer August Hoch established car production in the city. Jump forward to 1990 and Volkswagen opened a new plant on the site to produce the brand's iconic Golf. 30 years later, VW announced the Zwickau plant will make only electric vehicles going forward as the last combustion engine car rolled off the assembly line. Ask people today in Zwickau what Volkswagen's problems mean, and you'll get plenty of opinions. But there's one thing many agree on. The fortunes of the city remain closely tied to the fortunes of its biggest employer.
The mistake was switching everything to electric.
If many people lose their jobs, the whole city suffers.
Many in Zwickau are still waiting to see what Volkswagen's restructuring will mean for them. For some, uncertainty has already become reality.
Many people have already been let go, including me. I wanted to keep working there, but they didn't give me the chance. Now I'm studying for my B2 German certificate. I hope next year I'll be able to start an apprenticeship.
Volkswagen say its restructuring is designed to secure the company's future. Here, many are still waiting to learn what that future looks like for them. Peter Oliver, CGTN, Zwickau, Germany.
And Brazil now produces more clean energy than its grid can carry. And last year, it wasted about a fifth of all the wind and solar it could have generated. The fix is being built largely by China. Our correspondent Paula Cabral has the story.
The constant sun and cool breeze of Brazil's northeast have long drawn people to its beaches, but more recently they've drawn something else: heavy investment in clean energy, solar And wind, not only on the coast, but across the vast dry countryside, the Caatinga, in Brazil's poorest and least industrialized region. But there is a problem. There is now more clean power available than there are customers to use it or lines to carry it.
Transmission lines end up taking 4 or 5 years to be built. On the generation side, we can build a wind or solar farm in 2-3 years. That mismatch brings challenges to the sector.
An energy consultancy, Volt Robotics, estimated Brazil lost 6.5 billion reais last year. That's nearly $1.3 billion to what's called curtailment, when a grid operator orders plants to cut output. That blocked about a fifth of all the wind and solar the country could have produced. This energy expert says a boom in home and small business solar systems has added even more supply while cutting local demand.
Uma solução desse problema seria
One solution would be to expand transmission capacity from the northeast to other regions, to carry off this excess energy, or to raise consumption within the region too. But that takes a lot of resources, investment.
Brazil makes some of its cleanest power in the country's northeast, but needs most of it thousands of kilometers away, here, further south, in its most industrialized areas. Bridging that gap takes technology that China has mastered on its own vast distances and has brought to Brazil.
China's State Grid Corporation already operates an 800 kilovolt line, a technology that moves electricity over long distances with far less loss, carrying power from the Belo Monte Dam in the Amazon to Brazil's southeast. It has now announced it will speed completion of a second line using the same technology, sourcing energy in the country's northeast from 2030 to 2028.
Então, esse boom de geração promoveu.
This boom in generation created a need to reconcile schedules that wasn't foreseen before. The planners saw that clearly and changed how they work, and now that catching up is happening.
Transmission is one way to stop the waste, storage is another, and Brazil is set to hold its first auction for it in December.
Outra solução que está colocada é o armazenamento.
Another solution on the table is energy storage, mainly with batteries. You store the excess energy and return it to the system when the grid can absorb it. Of course, all of this depends on regulation, which is still being built.
Brazil succeeded in the challenge of producing more clean energy. To make the transition truly work, it now has to put all that power to good use. Paulo Cabral, CGTN, São Paulo.
And that's going to wrap up this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong here in Beijing. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.